Welcome back to GCTV. I'm your host, Ryan Donegan, and you're watching the Gaston College Student Broadcasting Showcase. Our first guest has worked for the Haunted Mill in Belmont and been selected for numerous independent film projects as a special effects makeup artist. Let's have a nice warm welcome for Cecily Duncan.
Thank you.
Cecily, what kind of makeup do you use?
Various different kinds, actually. Do you mind if I give you a demonstration?
Go ahead.
One of my favorite things, honestly, is what's called rigid collodion. It's done by Mayron. May I use your inner arm, please, sweetheart? Ingrid's going to be my lovely helper today. Something else I use is the Mayron bruise wheel, which is something I swear by, especially in the haunted house.
What is that used for?
You can make bruise effects, really. I also use it too. You'll see I'm going to use the lighter shade of the red. And I swear by a staple sponge too, honestly, because it just gives the effect of having scrapes and cuts. But if you can see how it's giving the effect of a scrape, a little bit darker, you can add a little bit more in there to kind of give it a bloodier look. And then you take the collodion, and it's so simple. Anybody can do this for Halloween. It's this simple to make scars. Just paint on top of it. And let it dry. And what it does while it dries, honestly, is it'll pull the skin in. If you want to show them your other arm, Ingrid, you can see how it turns out. That's how it will look. And it will look like a scar.
Nice.
Oh, don't need that in there. No, it doesn't smell good. I can tell you that now. It is a very pungent.
Pretty strong.
Yes, very. But I always do a test on somebody's skin to make sure that they're not allergic to it too, especially when you use liquid latex. Always make sure they do not have a latex allergy, because that could possibly cause things. Now, if you wanted to, you can bruise, like I will actually go onto this arm now. Use the different colors around. Just kind of play like this. And it will give a good bruise effect.
So how long have you been doing makeup?
I have honestly been doing makeup now for almost 20 years.
Wow.
It's something that I fell into. Being a horror buff, I kind of fell into the whole genre very easily.
Do you work with prosthetics at all?
I've done a few masks that were prosthetic masks. I've had a few of those that I've worked with. It's not something I've done a whole lot. I would love to, especially some of the stuff they do on Face Off. That's something I would love to get into. But as you can see, this turns out looking like a bruise.
That's really cool.
There's always yellow on the ends of a bruise. And it gives the striped effect.
So are you for hire?
Yes, if anybody wants anything done, please do not hesitate to me. I'm on Facebook. I will be glad to do anything. I'm the month of October, you need to book a little early. Since I do work at the Haunted Mill in Belmont, it's something you need to book a little early, but I'm always for hire. I'll be glad to do this. It's something that I thoroughly enjoy, and I'm not expensive either.
Do you have your own company, or?
That is something I'm actually in the process of working on. I'm building up my portfolio now, so I can have other things that I can show some of the effects that I have done.
Oh, and I know you mentioned a minute ago, but what led you to into the field of special effects, I guess, and gore? I
have always been a horror movie fan, always. And when I moved back into Gastonia from Seattle a long time ago, I actually auditioned to work in a haunted house as an actor and became more interested in this part of it and started looking up and going to different places like Morris Costumes in Charlotte and getting little cards on how to do certain things. And I've honestly just played with it from there and progressed and still learn something new every day. It's always a learning process, always.
Yeah, very nice.
But I thoroughly enjoy it. This is my passion, and if I can make a living at it, I certainly would do it in a minute. So you were nice and bruised, girl.
Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Cecily, for coming by. It's very impressive work.
Thank you for having me.
Ingrid, you look disgusting.
Thanks for being my puppet.
Next in the studio, we have a daredevil of sorts. Ladies and gentlemen, Ed Green. Ed, thank you for joining us. I know you have this extreme talent of skateboarding, but you also film while skateboarding. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, I picked up a skateboard 5-6 years ago, and I watching all the production and, skate videos, and I was just, how do they do that? Like, keep up with the skateboarders, and I just started getting into it, and it's just, I travel a little bit with it, and people are all over the world, Spain, Barcelona, like, stuff like that, and that's what I want to do,
All right. So what kind of gear do you have here? What do you use?
Right now, I've got a Canon Gel 2, and the lens I have is it's a Ray Knox, and it's actually called a Ray Mod because it's modded with the back lens, and it's pretty wide. It's not as close to a depth lens as I'd want, but it's pretty close, and that's pretty much how you keep the wide shot.
Excuse me. So what are you working with here? What's this other camera?
Well, I do a little bit of still photography, not a lot, but I trying to get into it, and it's just a basic Canon Rebel XS, just to start out with. So.
How many cameras have you gone through altogether?
This is my second actually legit camera. I had a Sony VX1000, which is a little better for skateboarding. The color's a little bit more crisp, and the slow-mos are a little bit better, but I sold it and ended up getting this one. So, I mean, I've had little handy cams or whatever, but, actual camera, this right here is my second or third.
All right. And this is mini DV, right? It's
yes.
Not,
yeah.
So does
mini
it shoot
DV,
in HD?
It does not.
All right.
Mini DV is not fun, but work with what you got, right?
All right.
Yep.
So tell me, how many injuries have you had while in your career of skateboarding?
I've had quite a bit, man. Every day getting hurt, cut, bruise, rolled ankle, whatever, but actual, like, broke injuries, I've cracked a bone in my knee, cracked my tailbone, and I broke my nose pretty bad.
Wow, how does that work on a skateboard?
It's not fun. It's pretty rough. Like, when I broke my nose, I can only breathe through one side of my nose. So it's like, it can be 100 degrees outside and the most beautiful day, ever, and I still can't breathe. It's like, I got a cold.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Ed, thank you for joining us. You truly are a pavement warrior, and we look forward to seeing more of your work.
Thank you, sir.
Everybody give a nice rocking welcome to the master of rhythm, Drew Dixon.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you for joining us today, Drew.
Thanks for having me, bro.
So how many years have you been playing the bass?
About 2 weeks, really, but nah, I've been playing since I was 17, 17. The bass. Yeah, I used to play the drums before that, but wanted to get out front, amongst the people and crowd, performing with them. So
you said you also play the drums. Are there any other instruments you play?
Well, I was formerly trained on a saxophone and started a music program up in Brevard College, to go for a music major. But I'd rather go into performance than, teaching, because it takes a special person to teach with a lot of patience,
So what's type of So what is your favorite style of music?
I like it all, really. It's it crosses over genres. It's just anything that sounds good's got a good groove, a good feel, a good beat. That's what I enjoy most, is because it's more fun. And if you're performing, you want to have fun, because then the audience, they're there just to have fun, so they want to have part of the fun too, and then everybody gets into it. Yeah. So
Is there any sort of style that you've embraced recently?
I just try to keep it funky and try and keep it real, just like I say, all genres. I'm looking for a band presently, right now I just got out of one. I'm looking for one for the weekends, to work with, but I wouldn't rule out full time, for the right band and the right money right now.
So tell me, what kind of equipment are you using here?
This is a bass I bought. I painted at Sudaiko on the paint crew for a whole summer, and it took me 500. You know, it took me that long to save up $500, and then I went and bought this bass at the music scene back in '77. You know, so and then I did all my touring. You know, most of it with this bass here, and it fits. You know, I love it. That's the best thing I ever bought myself. I feel. You know, and I just wouldn't let go of it. So.
All right. What about your speakers over here?
Well, this right here is just a little practice thing thrown together. It's a little 450 watt head and a 112 Ampeg, you know, with a Fostex horn in it. And so, you know, it's pretty good. You could play small clubs with that, but that's, you know, really small, because like in the festival rig that I got, you know, just in the rack, I got 4,500 watts, you know, and run a 4-way system with that, with many other speakers, and then of course, you know, a couple other amplifiers, but for the most part it's around 5,000 watts for the festival rig that I play. It just depends where I play, you know, the footprint that I get to be able to set my equipment up.
Nice. All right, well, thank you for joining us today. Why don't you bust us a beat for the way out?
All right, brother, I will. This is something else I just made up on the spur of the moment, so. And I just totally blew that, so I want to try something else, man, if you don't mind. So if we can do another take on, you know, that right there.
All right, thank you for joining us, Drew.
All right.
If you can bust us a beat for the way out.
All right, brother. Thanks for having me, my brother.
Thank you, Drew. Well, I'd like to thank you all for stopping by the studio and sharing your wonderful talents. Cecily, Drew, Ed. This has been Gaston College's Broadcast and Student Showcase. Until next time. Welcome back to GCTV. I'm your host. Maybe, I don't know. Welcome back to GCTV. I'm your host, Ryan Donegan, and you're watching this. Welcome back to GCTV. I'm your host, Ryan Donegan, and you're watching the Gaston College Student Broadcasting.